I wish I could tell you that I didn't care. I wish I could tell you that honestly. But I can't. Can I? That wouldn't be true. That wouldn't be accurate. As much as I don't care about telling the truth, I, 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 I do try. I try, right? I, I would prefer to be honest and open and truthful. I find that I don't have it within myself to consistently be truthful, even to myself. Even to myself. Which is arguably a bit of a problem. I wish I could tell you how I feel. I wish I could tell you I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe it, you know? It's like nothing matters. It's like that. Is it that? Does nothing matter? Well, I suppose that depends on your perspective, doesn't it? You could argue that what matters for each individual person is the circumstances of their own life, the things that each person goes through, the things that they experience, the things that they live and deal with. Those, arguably, for that person are what matters. You could also argue from a different perspective that nothing matters. You could argue that nothing that I do matters. Nothing that you do matters. Certainly, the discussion of what matters, quote unquote, right? That's the question of the perspective. The question of what matters depends on what matters, I guess. You know, does it matter in the scope of a person's life? Certainly, right? Certainly, of course it does. Does that person's life matter in the scope of their family, their friends, the people that they know. Of course it does, right? Obviously it does. Every person matters from that perspective. Does a person matter in the scope of the larger community that they live in, the city, state, country, whatever it may be? Does a person's life matter? Largely, no, it does not matter. Certainly, of course, exceptions for individual people that make efforts to make their life matter for one reason or another, it's important to me that my life matters, and so I'm going to make an effort to do things in the world that change the world, right? Those people, of course, whatever, right? Their lives matter, quote unquote, in that larger perspective. Good for them, right? Very proud of them. Their lives also don't matter from a larger perspective than that, right? Country perspective, global perspective, galaxy perspective, universal perspective. Nothing that you do matters. Nothing that exists in your life or any other matters at all. Nothing that you do and nothing that you are matters at all. But consider, if you will, consider that if nothing matters, then nothing matters, right? You may live your life afraid of the consequences of doing things. You may live your life according to the way that you believe things should be. And once you realize that none of it matters, all of the rules that you see, all of the guidelines that are in front of you, all of the ways that you believe you should live your life, none of it matters. It's all made up. You can actually do whatever you want to do. Certainly, of course, legal restrictions on things. You could also argue that those don't matter. Not the topic of conversation. The point is, outside of legal restrictions, and I mean, certainly, every given person mattering in their own way, outside of things that you could do that negatively impact other people. Assuming that the things that we're talking about are not those things, they may negatively impact you, but that doesn't matter. As long as you want to do those things and they don't hurt anyone else in any significant way, then it doesn't matter, right? And if it doesn't matter, what then is the reason to not do it, right? What is the reason to do it? Because you want to. What is the reason to not do it? Note the pause. Note the silence. The reason to not do it is pause. Silence. There is no meaningful reason to not do it. Again, assuming that it doesn't hurt other people or, negatively impact somebody else's life. Even then, assuming that it doesn't negatively impact somebody else's life in a way that is more significant than the positive impact that it brings to you. If the enjoyment that it brings to you is greater than the unenjoyment that it brings to somebody else, then it's a net positive, and you should do it. Whatever that thing is, whatever the thing. We're not discussing any particular activity, right? This is a very broad. This is anything that you want to do, whatever it might be. If you find yourself wanting to do something and the thing that is holding you back is, what am I supposed to do? Or what should I do? Or any of the other things, artificial restrictions that could cause you to not live your life the way that you feel like you should, or feel like you want to. Ignore those things. You're not responsible for any of those things. None of those things matter. Your life does not matter, and that's a freeing thing. That's a good thing. Your life does not matter, and that is positive, because that means you are not beholden to anything. You can do whatever you want. Again, assuming it doesn't negatively impact somebody else in some sort of a significant way. You can do whatever you want. Right? That's a strong thing. You don't need to be held back by the expectation of what you should or should not do. Right? Ask yourself, seriously, genuinely ask yourself, what is the reason why you should do whatever the thing is that you think you should do? Now, of course, let's be realists, right? Let's be honest. We live in a world where there are things that you should do, right? You should pay your rent. You should, unfortunately, work at the job that allows you to pay your rent. Unfortunately, right? You should do that, I guess. Right? But outside of the bare minimums that are required for you to live your life, not counting those things, there are expectations of you in your life. You should go to your cousin's wedding or whatever, right? You should do something that is expected of you. But why? Why? Why should you do that? In the context of the knowledge that nothing matters. Why should you do that thing that you're expected to do? Why not just do something else? Why not do that at all? Of course, I mean, certainly if you want to do it, you should, right? But that's the point. You should do what you want to do. You should do a thing because you want to do it, not because you are expected to do it. Right? If we all did the things that we were expected to do, I guess the world would be happier. I don't know, but I could tell you from my personal perspective, right? If I did the things that were expected of me, I would be less happy than I am now. I prefer to not do the things that are expected of me, and that's okay. That's okay because I am comfortable and safe and secure in the knowledge that nothing that I do matters. Nothing about my life circumstance matters in, grand scheme, right? Big picture. But that's a freeing thought. That's a liberating idea. To know that nothing matters means that you can do anything. Right? You can do anything that you want. Within reason, of course. You can do anything that you want. And it doesn't matter whether you do it or don't do it. It doesn't matter. It's, in the grand scheme of things, it's entirely inconsequential. But that being the case, and knowing that whatever these things are that you might want to do would make you happy, they would bring you satisfaction, they don't matter. Nothing that you do matters. But if it would make you happy, if it would bring you satisfaction, there's essentially no reason to not do it. Right? So, if you're faced with a decision, and we are, all of us, we are constantly faced with these decisions. Should I do a thing or not? I want to do the thing. There are things that tell me I should not, right? In that situation, you can be comfortable and safe in the knowledge that it does not matter what you choose, one way or the other. And so, if it doesn't matter, then why not do the thing that you want to do? Why not ignore the consequences because they don't matter? Right? Easier said than done, of course. Of course. But that's the idea. That's the idea. When you find yourself just sitting ruminating, you might as well do the thing that you want to do, because there's no real reason not to. Because nothing matters.